Okay, I really hope this recording works because I am excited to do this video today, but I have a lot of fans blasting because it is really hot here. Um, anyway, what's this video? This is Triad Wars 2. You may remember the last video, Triad Wars 1. Turdz took on various AIs of increasing difficulty over a number of rounds and ended up making the semifinals. He is back for another run, but he is joined by 3 other players. We have a really awesome crop of players here, I think. We have the Piggyman, one of the greatest players to never win a tournament, Brenn, the winner of Triad Wars 3, Turdz, the winner of Vincent, and Delial, the winner of, 100 different tournaments, which is to say 6 if we don't include TTN, and an all-time best 10 if we do. So, a couple things about the rules and the format. Every round of the tournament, the rules are going to be same wall plus wall combo. I like this rule set most, but also the AIs are calibrated for it, and I don't want to figure out how to get them set up to play other rule sets. Like same plus combo, very interesting rule set. There's some no rule random that's interesting, though that's not really for tournament play. But I thought this would be the most coherent to do, and it's what I've worked on having AIs for. The AIs are going to get harder every round of the tournament, so if a player gets through round 1, round 2 is going to be tougher, round 3 is going to be tougher than that. We have 4 humans. They're all in separate brackets. If they all beat all the AIs, they will be the final 4. If the AIs beat them, we will have an AI final 4, and we'll see what happens. I've asked the players to try not to take longer than kind of 9 minutes a move, pretend it's a real tournament format. If they want to and do, I can't stop them. That's fine. But so far, it seems all players have kind of kept within a 9 or 7 or 5 minute time control time frame, which is very nice. And I want to say I really appreciate all of them playing. I would love to get weaker players. I would love to get other really strong players. But I think it's really cool for the second one to have such a strong crop of players and to get to see how they do and to see how they play on different rule sets. So this first video, because it's round 1 and generally the opposition is not that hard, I'm not going to go too in depth on the moves here. But I think there's a bunch of things of interest, and we're going to talk about what's the clear idea behind each move made. So I already said some of this. I'm going to make videos between each round rather than making them all after I know the result of the tournament. So in the last one, I tended to know what was going to happen with Turdz' games when I'd made the videos. And here, I don't know how the players do. I know what happens this round, but I don't know what's going to happen in future rounds. So I know which of the 4 players made round 2, but I have no idea if any of them are going to win the tournament or are going to, go out in round 3 or whatever. So we got our 4 players defending Mankind: Turdz, Piggyman, Brenn, and Delial. What else do we have? Yeah, each of them are in separate brackets. Each has increasing difficulty opposition. I'm going to show the games in the order they were completed, though I may adjust this if I feel like it. But for instance, Piggyman played his game first, so I'm going to show his game first. You will get the same first and second turns as other players. So in this first round, each of them will get second turn in the first game, and that will be balanced across all human players because I think that keeps it fair. Technically, this kind of lets them exploit me if they start colluding, because, if Brenn tells Turdz, hey, I got first turn, Turdz will know, I can play first turn. And if Brenn had tied his first game and knows that second game is a second turn game, he could tell Turdz, well, switch your hand if you want a different hand on second turn. So technically, the players could collude and figure stuff out, but hopefully no one tells them and they don't watch this video, and I trust them not to collude. We have round 1. Our rule set is level 2 and 3, all rules except elemental, which, as I've said before, is not a rule, it is an abomination. And the one stipulation is you must use 3 level 2s. And I think this is an interesting rule set because there's a pretty, I think, real drop-off between level 2 and level 3 cards. And in normal play and level 3-4 play, the best level 3s are clearly 6-6-3-2s, but it's not clear if that is as true on level 2 and 3, where there are going to be fewer 7s running around for the 6-3 part to be strong against. And it might still be true, but I think it provides... it's a different level combination that is usual, so it might throw off which cards are especially effective given what you want to be able to plus wall. So I hoped it would be an interesting set. If I was playing it, I would still run 6-6-3-2s. I played a practice game myself against one of the AIs just to test, and I went with a 6-6-3-2 hand. But it'll be interesting to see what players choose. And it's perhaps a little disappointing that Piggy is our first player, because he, the human player, will always be the blue hand. He chose a very offbeat hand here. I love that he picked Porker, the 3-5-3-5, gotta represent the pigs here. But he clearly went for balanced strength over like strong corner power. And very interesting choice. Clearly, of the four hands we're going to see, the most uniquely chosen. And Titus has first turn. He's playing Titus in the first round. I will not show the bracket at any point in this video, but I may leave a link in the description below, and if you'd like to see the bracket, I'll send it along. There's a link. And yeah, so Titus goes first. Won't talk too much about the AI moves, more the human moves, unless the AI does something really interesting. Weak corner starters, I think, are pretty viable in general, but kind of especially on low levels, when you can often put something out that any of your cards can recapture from either side. And these can be tricky to meet. And Piggy, who is, as I've said, a very creative player, immediately uses up one of his level 3s. And you'll notice he picked with one of his level 3s this 3-5-3-5, which feels like a low power card when there are, 6/6s available. But he immediately sets up a plus and 2, and just plans for his cards to be able to play well off it. The 4-3 parts can play off the 5 to be able to take 6s, though there aren't any 6s running around in the opponent's hand. But with a hand where the cards are so clearly designed to play synergistically off each other, I think it makes sense to access 5 early in the game to make sure one of your cards that your others play off well can play off that key central square that touches so many more squares than any other square touches. So the AI goes in 2, which is a pretty poor move because it gives Piggy free securing moves. Most of the AIs played here were kind of I have different AI types, and one of them is Capture Man. And the first round, most of the opponents were a Capture Man AI, so one that really looks to capture whenever possible and will often do so in bad circumstances. So Piggy has a choice here between going in 1 and going in 6 if he wants to immediately secure cards. The option to go in 1, he could play the 6-3-6-3, secure a card, and be safe, but he would use up, presumably, the best card in his hand. And he saw an interesting option to go in 6, which is not safe, but he has combos on the card in 9 that could take it, so he can secure and be sort of pseudo-safe, while not having to immediately use up his 6-3-6-3. So I think he did a very logical move, though I should say I think 6-3-6-3 and 1 is a winning move, and also an excellent way to play. So he goes in 6, and the only card that the AI has that could take that from 9, he can immediately combo back, and this is a very tough position for red. There's no safety. Any move in 1 can be taken, and that card can be taken by the mighty 6-3-6-3, which will also be safe. Very tough position for red. I believe there is a tie here, and I think a really interesting puzzle would be if anyone can find the tie, but I think it is a very tough tie to find. Good luck to anyone who wants to try. This is a terrible situation for red, and it would take a true moment of brilliance to escape here. Alright, will it go? Red goes for attempted safety, but this is no help because Piggy still has that really strong move in 1. Piggy now leads 6-4, and all his cards are locked in. And the conclusion is pretty clean. Piggyman advances to the next round. I think a really nice start to the tournament. Solid play. The move in 2 was obviously poor, and Piggy exploited it nicely. And I also just liked seeing a sort of offbeat hand. I would never think of making a hand like this on this rule set. And I will say in advance, the rule set I made for the next round is specifically to try to seduce Piggy into doing something strange and mysterious, and we'll see if he does. I asked each player for comments after their game or games, and Piggy said, "Because I wasn't sure what to expect after not playing in a long time, I just picked cards that looked like they could play off each other well. I think 3-3-4-4s are solid cards in a 2-3 set, since there are lots of cards with 1s and 2s, and you don't fall victim to plus wall shenanigans as much either." Right, there aren't many things that can plus wall a 4 and nothing that can plus wall a 3 available here. And so he's picking stuff that avoids, kind of weird combo stuff. He's picking stuff that plays together well. And he's saying, you can have a 7-4 on one side, but you probably have something weak on the other, and I can play pretty well off that. And at some point, you're going to have to show the backsides of your cards. So Piggy advances to the next round. and we move on to Brenn's game. So Brenn taking on Blastoise. Again, he's going to get second turn. Brenn went for a very different hand here. He chose a 3-6-6-1 and a 5-1-5-6. This is level 3s. I've always liked the 5-1-5-6 types. I think they're really nice at playing against opposing 6s with the 5-1s, and they're consistent with the 5-1 going both up and down, and a 6 themselves gives them a pretty powerful number in this level range. And I think that's a nice choice on a level 2-3 set, where 6s are likely to occur a lot, though so far in the hands we're seeing, 6s have not been very frequent. But if you think 6s are kind of gonna be the meta, I really like this card to play off them. I think they're a pretty fun card to play with in general, though not a very lame card. I don't think they're that powerful, but I think they're somewhat effective and fun to use. And then the rest of the hand is making sure he has 7s in various directions that he might otherwise be weak in, and some power. So Blastoise goes first. Blastoise, Brenn sort of was unlucky here. I wanted there to be 3 Capture Man AIs and 1 AI that wasn't that was doing something a little more complicated. And Brenn was the unlucky person to draw what I think is the toughest AI of this round. Because I'm going to put weaker AIs in the first rounds of all these tournaments, but I don't want someone to come in and know they're going to be playing a Capture Man AI that kind of just captures at every opportunity. I want there to always be something a little different in each round to keep you honest. And if you realize, yes, I'm definitely playing a Capture Man AI, maybe I'll try to play exploitatively, good for you, but you won't know you're getting one in the first round. And so he got a somewhat different AI, and it made an interesting first move. With the 1-7-1-4, there is no way for Brenn to achieve safety in either 3 or 9. I think this move is surprisingly solid for a move that the AI made for kind of weird reasons that I won't get into. But it's a bit of a tricky move, and Brenn doesn't have obvious safety anywhere, and so it puts some pressure on. You know, any move where you don't have free safety can be a tricky move to meet, and I like how Brenn met it. He gives up his power rightwards, or some of it, but he plays a card in 4 that he can recapture from either 1 or 7 with his 3-6-6-1. These cards play together nicely, and that's going to be safe. And that's how the game continues. His opponent captures with their own safe move, but he captures back, and he now leads with 2 safe cards to 1. And Red probably has some ways to not collapse here, but I think Red made a very logical move. 7, 2, 3, 5, and 8 locks in the card in 7. It also sets up a plus in 9 with 1, 7, 1, 4, and a same in 5 with 2, 5, 7, 2. The only downside is it doesn't pressure the card in 4, so both of Brenn's cards are still safe. But I think very clearly, Red is ready to meet any move in 9 with a move in 5, and any move in 5 with a move in 9, and that seems like a pretty good setup. But I really like what Brenn did here, which is to say, you have 5, and you have 9, but you have different cards for each of those squares. So if I play in 2 or 3 and you have to play in the other one, you're only going to be left with one of your 2 really good cards, and you're not going to have 5 and 9 both covered anymore. And he also has cards for both 5 and 9. He has 7-3-1-2 for 5, and he has 5-2-5-2 for 9. And so he thinks, okay, I'm going to use 5-1-5-6. I'm going to use it in one of 2 or 3. 3 makes sense. It's safe there, or relatively safe. I can play it there, because if you capture, sorry about the red line, some screenshot issue. If you capture from 2, I capture back in 5, I do what I want in 5, and you don't have anything in 9 because you just used up your card for 9. And I think this is really nicely reasoned. I also think there were good moves available in 2. Specifically, I like the look of 7-3-1-2 in 2, because it sets up 5-1-5-6 for a plus in 5. But either way, I really like the reasoning of going in 2 or 3, just a really good understanding of they have 2 cards for 2 combo squares. I'm just going to run out the clock, make them use one of the cards elsewhere, and then they won't have a card for both combo squares. And if they play in either square, I get to play in the other one. And they indeed went in 9, and Brenn responds in 5, and wins 6-4, and advances to the next round. I really like this game. Brenn, after the comment, said, I hate playing low levels, thought for sure I'd be one and done, built the hand solely on a defensive strategy, my opponent messed up when he went in 8. Brevity in his comment, but I think his comment describes what he was looking for in his hand. He really does hate low levels, but I think he played a good game and advanced comfortably, and next round we're going to get somewhat higher levels, and hopefully he enjoys the resulting rule sets. Most players after their games, I think everyone but Turdz told me afterwards they had fun playing and it was nice to play again, and that was nice to hear. So our third game is Turdz vs. Rude. Turdz is per usual in blue. You can see he chose a hand with two 6/6s for his level 3s, so 6/6/3/2s, really looking like an appealing option, or at least an option most players considered, except for Piggy. Chose Roaming Gold Coin as one of the level 2s. This was always a very popular choice, helped by it being a semi-rare, but 6/5/3/2 sort of seems like the most powerful available combination on level 2. Though maybe there's some argument for a card with a 7, and maybe Pigs would argue, no, it's 4/4/3/3s. And then chose 7s on his remaining cards to make sure he had pretty balanced power. His opponent begins with Detector in 5, another really good level 2 choice that no one so far has chosen of the human players. Interesting move in 5. Don't want to get too into it, but it's funny how the computer can choose moves based on very limited principles, and then you look at it a bit and you notice some clever things down the road about it, but clearly not intended. And Turdz thought for a little and plays, okay, I have safety in 2. He mentioned the video I had just made of Brilliant Moves, where Piggy's opponent had made this move in 2, and Piggy had these brilliant opportunities to win and ways to apply pressure, and thinking, am I falling victim to that? No, this is safe both ways. They can't set up against this. This has to be good. And the AI, which was a Capture Man AI, plays this move in 6, which looks ridiculous. It gives up 3 forever, but actually isn't so clear. It threatens the same in 3, so you kind of have to block 3, because that's both a free square, and red has a really good move there. And after you block 3, red goes in 9, and will be safe in 9, and secure the card in 6. And suddenly, like, this move that looks like it should be ridiculous is actually pretty good here. And the Capture Man didn't choose it because it was a good move. The Capture Man chose it because it wanted to capture. But it's a kind of brilliant move. And Turdz eventually feels he has to block 3, which I think is the right choice. And now red has safety in 9. And there are a couple different paths to go. My instinct tends to be to go in 1 in these positions. Turdz decides that the way to try to apply most pressure here is in 6. And the AI takes it and is safe, and we lead to a tie. And this is our first tie of the round, and we might say shame on you, Turdz, not winning in 1 game. But of course, tying before you win is totally fine. And I don't think Turdz made any mistakes here. I think the AI played a move that kind of looked silly in 6, but is actually kind of worth studying and noticing what it did, because it was a really strong move, and it was Turdz who had to be careful afterwards to manage the tie. And it's a very strange move. It's the rarest type of move in that kind of setup. And it looked very hard to look at in a position like this, where Turdz has the safe card in 2 and you're just giving it to them, and you're not even setting up much of your own. But it does set up this safety idea, where it forces Turdz to play in 3, and then they can play safely in 9. And got a pretty comfortable tie. Neither player chose to change hands after this game. Now Turdz's first turn. And he started with, okay, this is a hard, strong corner for you to deal with. You do have a way to take, but I have ways to take back. I have multiple ways to take back from 2. If somehow it's needed, I have a way to take back from 4. I'm just going to give you something that's a little tricky to deal with. And also, I think Turdz is a smart, exploitative player, in that, and this is a reason he was a very good closed player, is if he notices patterns in you, he's going to try to play in ways that take advantage of those patterns. And he, especially having played one of these tournaments before, and having a little familiarity with the kinds of AIs I've built, I assume was probably thinking he's playing some kind of Capture Man type, which he has played and defeated before. And they capture, and he recaptures. I think the one downside to Turdz's position is he doesn't have a big combo in 5, but neither does his opponent. His opponent continues capturing. Generally, capturing in 5 is pretty dangerous in these positions. I have some videos about L positions, and you usually want to go in 3 or 7 here are the more conventional moves. And occasionally there's clever stuff elsewhere, which we may see in the next game. But generally 5 is pretty dangerous because you give up so many good options, right? Blue has dangerous options in 3, securing a card. They have dangerous options in 7, securing a card. And they have dangerous options in 9, setting up a queue where they have the secure card in 1. And because blue has so many options that are potentially dangerous, even if you check a few lines and they work out, it's so hard to check them all, especially with a time limit, that I think moves in 5 sometimes do survive, but are very risky to do, because you won't have calculated everything most likely, and if you haven't, you're leaving them a lot of dangerous options. Turdz looks at this for a while, and I think in this case, actually, with perfect play, maybe red does survive with this move, but blue has lots of different ways to apply pressure, and Turdz finds a nice one going in 5. And he's ready to recapture in 3, and going in 7, sorry. And he's ready to recapture in 3, and he is roaming gold coin, which will be good in an up-down final set of moves. And after his opponent, I'm forgetting what I named the AI he's playing, goes in 8, and they probably should have gone with a 2-3-6-5 there, just keeping the 2-4-7-4 in hand because of high down power might have been valuable for potential safety later. The 6 down that 2-3-6-5 have can be taken by roaming gold coin, but the 2-4-7-4 offers potential safety later. Turdz just takes the card in 2, in 3, and roaming gold coin dominates the remaining game. Both cards, in fact, neither card is going to be safe in 6, and neither, in fact, captures, and so roaming gold coin easily dominates the endgame, and Turdz wins 6-4 and advances to round 2, beating Rude. And so finally, we get Delial, who took the longest to get the game together. He's facing Cyan Garamendi. Cyan has first turn again. The computers always had first turn this round. Delial also chose a 6-6-3-2 for his hand. He also early on picked, I want that 1-5-7-3. I'm not sure what's so appealed about it, because they're 7-5-3-2s as well. But I guess the 1-5 might play better if he thinks he's facing 6s than the 2-5 would. So, interesting choice there, to choose something that's a 7-5-3-1 when 7-5-3-2s are available. You can see the 7-5-3-2 that's almost the same in the opponent's hand. And then choosing just kind of powerful 6-4s for the remaining corner, 6-5 and 6-4. Generally, those are pretty high-powered level 2 cards for the remaining corners, and a side-to-side card. He was pretty down on this card. I skipped Turd's comments on his games. He said, about the first game, I'm not sure I had the best hand. Normally I like 6-3-3-2s and 6-3-2-2s on level 2. If we go back so you can actually see his hand, let's see his hand on the right, on level 2, but I thought I should have 1 or 2 7s in there. That move in 6 was actually really good, though I don't know if the setup of the same in 3 was intentional or if it was just a capture. It was just a capture. If it was intended, it's a great move. If it wasn't, then it's an unintentionally great move. But if that combo wasn't there in 3, then I might have had more success with a more unconventional reply. My move in 2 in this my move in 2 looked pretty solid at the time and being a near perfect defense, but from that point on, I think I only had 1 or 2 possible moves each turn that weren't a loss. So yeah, in that first game where there was this move in 6, really surprisingly dangerous for Turdz. I think he's right in his comments. And in the second game just felt pretty straightforward. Usual formula of a corner capture, they capture, I recapture, then they play in 5, which is not the best response, and I worked out a possible win from me playing in 7 to any response they make in 8, and I assumed they would definitely go 8 from their playstyle so far. So again, Turdz looked to exploit and make sure he calculated the line most likely for their style of play. Alright, moving on to Delial, talked a little bit about his hand. Sort of looks to me like a 4-corner hand with 1 horizontal to fill out the hand, but based on talking to him, he kept explaining things in just completely different terms to how I think about them. So I don't know if I really captured much here of how differently he thinks, but it was interesting to see, and hopefully we get more of that in later rounds. So the AI went with a very weak corner, similar to what we saw in the Piggy game, in the first game, and Deli just immediately took it. And I think this move's fine, but I was kind of distrustful watching, because the opponent gets to recapture, and the opponent sets up a plus in 5, and Deli doesn't have that plus. And so Deli doesn't have like a move in 3 building out safety downwards, because the opponent can go in 5. And Deli doesn't have a safe move in 7 building out from there, because the opponent again can go in 5, often setting stuff up against his other cards. And so I wasn't really sure what his plan was, and when watching I sort of started thinking, I bet he's going to go in 8 and start setting stuff up. And I was wrong, because he went in 4 and started 6 and started setting stuff up. Always fun to see him playing the creative options. He sets up a plus for himself in 5, he sets up a plus for himself in 3, and the AI replied very poorly here. And this is when things started to get a little weird for me. Because I, looking at this, thought, this is pretty straightforward. Now that the card in 2 is flipped, Deli will play Detector, 2, 3, 6, 5, and 5. That will flip the cards in 2 and 1. The opponent has no upward power, so they can't take anything. None of their moves in 7 tie. This is a pretty straightforward win. And Delial, who I should mention, was drinking, was doing other stuff, just goes, the obvious move's the tie. I'm only finding ties. And I was like, but 5, I was thinking. And then he ends up playing in 9. And I go, fancy. Because I thought it was fancy, because I thought there's a straightforward win. And the opponent goes in 5, blocking that, and we now just get a tie. Sorry about the red outline. Again, I'm bad at this graphics program. So I was a little worried, because I thought most of the games we've seen so far are really solid, and Delial is obviously one of the greatest players ever, if not just the greatest player ever. And I thought this move in 5 was pretty straightforward and what he had been setting up the last move, and for some reason he must have just had a blindness to the fact that it comboed the card in 1, or something down the road, because going with the same card in 5 was just a win. And I was a little worried. And we play out a tie, and we move on to game 2. And now they both kept the same hands, and Delial's first turn, he goes in 1. Clearly thinking the opponent was having some trouble dealing with this 1-5-7-3. And actually, I think this move is pretty strong here. The opponent ended up taking. Again, we're facing a lot of capture man AIs. Delial looked for a little, and then he comboed back and said something about how, now the AI makes a stupid move. Because he did not think highly of the AI's move, and I think his response is correct. Not that there was a lot of alternative here, but I think Delial's now should have a winning position. The opponent replies in 5, which I think is a really good try. Delial doesn't have combos anywhere. He doesn't have an obvious way that I saw to set up in 7 or 9 against this. And so, and I didn't know how strong the T's looked, though there might be a good T here. And there might be good moves in 7 or 9. Eventually, Delial chose safety, which I thought was a nice reply. The AI also went with safety. Or what it thought was closest to safety, but Delial just has the combo. But he thought, I'm facing Cyan, I respect Cyan, he's a good noble knight, I will try not to beat him too badly, I won't take the immediate combo, I'll set up a 6-4 win, and Delial wins 6-4. But we have bonus content. So congrats first to all 4 players, they all won. I don't think any of them were in danger at any point. Some nice games in here. I think my favorite is Brenn's, for just kind of the logic of it, but a lot of the games were good, and I think it's a nice start to the tournament, and I'm really hopeful of the future rounds. But I will admit, I was a little worried about Delial. He said after the game, don't get drunk and play yourself into corner play. Forbidden was my win condition before I even made a move. Sad, but true. Most people would have seen the hand sucked and taken up the offer to change after game 1, but nope. Get stubborn, y'all. So, I think the shakiest start for Delial of the 4 players, much to my surprise. But afterwards, he was talking to me about how he had this goofy hand, and he couldn't remember the cards, but eventually he figured it out. And he had this Esmeralda hand, or Barai as she is apparently known. And he was talking about this hand, and he said, I wish I could make graphics like you're putting together so I could show you how this works. And I said, okay, I'll throw it together. So I threw together the graphic, and he said, we need an opposing hand. So I put together an opposing hand. Of just kind of generic lame cards that sort of fit together. And he said, okay, make a move, so I can show you how the hand works. So I went, okay, what's kind of normal move here? Didn't want to, think too hard, and I thought, okay, Squall in 7, you don't have the plus wall or plus or same in 4, and I have nice ways to recapture back from both 4 and 8, so that looks pretty good. First I put in Cypher in 3, but ignore that. So I put in Squall in 7. And Deli thinks for a bit, and he goes, I'm having trouble deciding between Cyan and 2, 3, or 6. And eventually decides Cyan and 6. And me, who's now feeling like, is Delial a little shaky these days? He missed this win, goes you do know you can't take that card back from 9 if I take it from 3. And he goes, yeah, I don't need to, don't worry about it. So, okay. I, don't think too hard, not gonna, look a gift horse in the mouth. I go, okay, then I'll go 3. I'll take your card. And after a minute or so, Deli goes, now, how to beat you? And I'm feeling like I've just made normal good moves. I'm ready to recapture all my cards. I've locked in the card in 6. I just have to be careful not to flip Barai, the card in 5 at any point, and I'm good to go. This should be a pretty comfortable path to a tie. And after a little bit more thought, Delial plays Rufus in 4. I stare at the position for a bit and realize I have just lost, which means I am no longer worried about Delial's play. I really was after I thought he missed a pretty clear win in 5, but this was a pretty nicely played game. His hand to me looked kind of ridiculous. His play looked not particularly threatening, and I just made normal moves and lost horribly, and I was pretty impressed, and it's nice to see. I think Delial really needed a warm-up, and once he got going, as he said afterwards, kind of unfair for us to play when you are not really thinking and my brain's gone into overdrive. But I really think it was fun. It was a fun game to lose because I just, was kind of casually making moves I thought were safe and no risk against a hand that seemed totally non-threatening, and suddenly I'm completely busted. His remaining cards dominate the side-to-side. I should have had a lot more caution about giving up my only really good side-to-side card in Gulka, the 288A, in a game that he could turn into an S or Z formation, because you really have to have good side-to-side cards to survive those. I just assumed I was ahead so much it would be pretty easy to tie, but his cards really dominate the remaining squares and you can play stuff out. I'm just losing. And made me feel a lot better about Delial's play after that first one, because this was a very convincing game for him to crush me in. I then wanted to make Gulka in 3 work, so we can go back and you can look at this position where I made this losing move of Gulka in 3, and you can pause if you like and try to find a tying idea. There's probably more than one, but I only spotted the one. But I wanted to make Gulka 3 work, but the problem with Gulka 3 is he goes in 4 and sets up this side-to-side game where we have 1 and 2 and 8 and 9 paired, and I don't have any side-to-side strength remaining. So what I need to do, I thought, just like my logical thought process was, I need to block up 1 of 1 or 2, or 8 and 9, and then I can play Gulka in 3. So I thought, okay, I need to block up 8 or 9, and if I'm choosing between 8 and 9, normally my instinct is 9, but if they can't retake my card in 7, Squall, from 4, then I probably just want to block 8. And that kind of obliges them to go 9, because that's such a juicy square they can't leave it alone, and then I can go 3. So my eventual idea was Amaranth in 8, which I think forces them to play Laurasia 881A in 9. Other moves may hold on, but other moves I'm just going to combo Cyan and flip everything. And it didn't look like they had anything clever. So this looked like the straightforward reply. I play Gulka in 3, and this is a pretty clear path to a tie that I didn't find while we were playing, but did after realizing, hey, what I played was terrible and Delial crushed me, that there was a way to make the same idea work, but I had to be clever about it. I had to block up some of the side-to-side squares. Delial pointed he does have a clever combo set up at the end. Rufus, 567A in 1, sets up a surprising combo with Sid on Emeralda. His hand really clicks in strange ways, but it is not enough to win here. I just have to avoid flipping anything, and I have the tie. So that's our first round. I hope you enjoyed the bonus game of Delial crushing me, and I hope you enjoyed the games. And I'm curious who people think played the best in the first round, or who made the hand you liked the most. Hopefully I have the second round up soon. None of the games have been played yet. I've just sent everyone that the rule set is up, and it's going to be level 1 through 7, no stips, same rules. I just wanted to take a level I think is fun and interesting, and just see what the best hands people could make on it were. And I included the low levels to try to trick Piggy into making a weird low-level hand, as is his wont, in the hopes that it would come out fun and interesting. And we'll see what happens. But I'd love to hear who people think played well, how badly people think I played against Delial, and how badly he crushed me. Who you think played well, who you think has good chances to go deep in the tournament. And thanks everyone so much who's choosing to play for playing. If you want to play in future one of these, let me know. I'm excited about running these. I think they're fun. I love getting records of games actually played. That's something we don't really have with Triple Triad history. And I'm very excited to have people playing in a tournament format. And Some people put more effort into building their hands than others, but I think as the tournament goes on, everyone really clearly enjoyed their games, but everyone's going to get more into it and make more serious hands. Delial says, I'm going to spend more than 5 minutes on my hand next time. He did not think his hand was good this time. And we'll see interesting stuff from people. And I'm also curious if any of the humans make it to the semifinals and get to play each other. Having seen the other games the others are playing, will they have learned strategies or thought of ideas against each other? Because they'll have a record of how the other person plays and a little of how they think. And it might be interesting to see them go head to head. If they make it that far, I do think the AIs get really, really hard, and there is a good chance that AIs win this tournament. But also, we have very good players here, and there's a really good chance players win this tournament. And so, also, who do you got? Do you got humans or robots? So, hope that was fun to watch and listen to, and see you next time for round 2.